Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. Happy Monday. Hey everyone. Bear with me while I get the new setup kind of all straight. Let me know if you guys like it. I have 2 monitors now. I feel really super professional. So I want to thank Flo for that. Thank you so much, Flo. Let me know if you guys, it's Monday, if the sound is okay. Hello, everyone. I feel like I can say hi to you in 2 places. Yes, we have big news. But before we get to that news, which is upsetting, I'm upset too, guys. I feel your pain. We're going to read through what Judge's reasons are for banning cameras in the courtroom. First, I want to thank all the moderators for being here today. And I also want to thank all of the loungers who are in green. Wow. So anyways, we had a lot of gift memberships on Friday. So I want to thank everybody who's gifted. We do have a contest going for a Christmas sweater. Our Christmas merch went live on Saturday. So we have long sleeve sweaters, which Potato designed, and they're so cute. Everybody loves them. And we have mugs that are super cute. And then we also have a bag, like a tote bag. And it's all cute stuff. If you'd like to take a look, the mods will be putting the link in chat. And then also, so for the top 2 donators to Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal will be 2 winners from that group, and then 1 group from the YouTube Super Chatters, and then 1 group from the YouTube membership gifters. So that will be at the end of November. We'll be taking count and see who won. I know I promised daily updates. I've been slacking. I'm so sorry. But you can see the ticker is giving the top member gifters and the top super chatters and also the top weekly. So you can look at the chatter at the ticker to keep up to speed on the contest. Let's get into our content.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to bring you guys this bad news. Let me go over to my other screen because I'm so professional. All right, so it says, in the state of Idaho versus Bryan Kohberger. Introduction. This order addresses the motion to remove cameras from the courtroom filed by defendant Bryan Kohberger on August 24th, 2023. So this was way back in August of 2023, and he's now ruling on it. The state responded to Kohberger's motion requesting that the court, quote, prohibit cameras in the courtroom, both still and video, at a minimum. What's the maximum? I mean, that sounds like the maximum. At a minimum during trial and during any other court proceedings at which victims might be called to testify. Okay. At a minimum during court proceedings and trial where victims might be called to testify. That was the state's response. So the state was trying to, protect the victims. On August 30th, a coalition of 14 media outlets that will be collectively referred to as the Associated Press filed a second motion to intervene in this case. Motion to intervene at FN. I don't even know what that part is. On September 8th, 2023, the Associated Press filed an opposition to motion to remove cameras from the courtroom. The Associated Press argues that continuing to allow audio-visual of the proceedings is the only way to ensure that many community members affected by these crimes throughout the University of Idaho, Moscow, the state of Idaho, and the cities in which the victims' families reside have an opportunity to see and hear the proceedings for themselves. That was the intervener's opposition to motion to remove cameras from the courtroom. For the reasons stated below, the court grants Kohberger's motion to remove cameras from the courtroom as it pertains to cameras, both still and video, operated by the media. However, all is not lost. You have to read. However, why did it move like that? This is good news. The court will continue to allow. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Okay. The court will continue to allow the proceedings to be videoed by a court-operated camera. So that's not bad. So what? So the media can't run the cameras, the court does, right? Let's keep going. This will alleviate the concerns raised by both the defense and the state, but at the same time will ensure the public still has access to the proceedings for themselves if they cannot attend hearings in person. He only blocked the media, guys. Why is everyone freaking out? I haven't read this. I just heard about it in chat. Myron was like, oh my gosh, he's banned them. It's over. Da, da, da. It's not over, guys. The court is going to be the ones to record. They're going to be in control. So it makes the state and the defense happy. Let's keep reading. On November the 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students. Hold on. 4 University of Idaho students, Kaylee, Madison, Xana, and Ethan, were found deceased in Gonsalves's, Mogan, and Kernodle's off-campus home in Moscow, Idaho. The cause of death for each was ruled a homicide. As news of the tragedy broke, media outlets from around the country descended upon Moscow. As law enforcement investigated, news stations, newspapers, and social media were flooded with stories and speculation about the homicides. On December 30th, 2022, Kohberger was arrested and charged with 4 counts of murder in the first degree and 1 count of burglary. Again, media outlets descended upon Moscow, and news coverage quickly focused on Kohberger. Given the high-profile nature of the case and concerns surrounding Kohberger's fundamental right to a fair trial by an impartial jury, the parties stipulated to entry of a non-dissemination order. On May 1st, 2023, a coalition of 20 media outlets, which encompasses the 14 now at issue, filed a motion to intervene and a motion to vacate the amended non-dissemination order. At a scheduling conference conducted on May 22nd, the court asked the parties and the Associated Press to brief the issue of whether cameras should continue to be allowed in the courtroom during proceedings in this case. Oral argument on the issue was heard on June 9th, 2023. The state was represented by William Thompson, Bradley Rudley. Defendant Kohberger was represented by Ann Taylor and Jay Logston. The Associated Press was represented by Wendy Olson and Carrie Caroni. At that time, both the defense and prosecution were opposed to cameras in the courtroom, especially at trial. Nevertheless, the court reserved its ruling on the issue and has continued to allow cameras operated by the media at all public hearings. I think Judge is cool, man. He's letting us watch it. He's just saying the media is not going to be in control of the cameras because then Bryan can complain. They're zooming in on my fly and all this other crap. So he's saying, like, we're just going to have the court run it. Then no one can bitch. Right? I like Judge. This is good. This is really good so far. As the case has progressed, media coverage, both by legitimate media outlets and journalists and by individuals on social media, continues to be significant nationwide. On August 24th, 2023, the defense filed a motion to remove cameras from the courtroom. On August 30th, the Associated Press filed a second motion to intervene in the case, and on September 8th, filed an opposition to Kohberger's motion. Arguing the cameras should be at least banned during any hearings, including trial, where vulnerable witnesses and or victims are called to testify. On September 13th, a hearing on Kohberger's motion was held. The state was represented by William Thompson, Bradley Rudley, Jeff Nye, and Ingrid Beatty. Kohberger was represented by Ann C. Taylor, Jay Logston, and Alyssa Masseth. The Associated Press was represented by Wendy Olson and Carrie Caroni. Issues presented. The first issue pending before this court is whether the Associated Press has a right to intervene in the case to challenge Kohberger's motion. For the reasons stated below and articulated on the record at the hearing on September 13th, the court holds that the Associated Press does not have standing to intervene in the case at this juncture. Nevertheless, the court will allow the Associated Press to participate as an interested media coalition. The next issue is whether the court should exercise its discretion and remove cameras from the courtroom to protect Kohberger's right to a fair trial and protect vulnerable witnesses and victims who may be called to testify at trial and other hearings. For the reasons stated below, the court will prohibit still, video, and audio coverage by journalists and the public. However, a court-operated video and audio system will be used to record and stream the proceedings, allowing the media and public access to view and hear for themselves what is taking place in the courtroom. I couldn't be happier. I don't know why anybody, Myron, I don't know where you heard that they were banned, But you're getting some wrong info, dude. And you guys, we have to read through these, right? We can't just knee-jerk react. We can't fall for clickbait. We've got to read it all before we react. Take a deep breath. Just because it came out, we don't have to react. Calm down. Everybody needs to simmer it down a little bit. Okay. However, a court-operated video and audio system will be used to record and stream the proceedings. This will alleviate some of the concerns raised by the parties while addressing the media's concerns with removing cameras from the courtroom. So he sided with the media without really siding with the media. So he's saying the court will record it. Everyone and their brother will have access to it.
I heard Eduardo with like a G.
Everyone and their brother will have access to it. And it doesn't matter who's recording it. Live court is live court. You can't, if he's going to let it be recorded, who cares who's running the damn cameras? Because we don't want Bryan Kohberger to say, oh, well, you know, it was unfair. The media did all this bias. They zoomed in. They were focusing on me and da 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 da. It's alleviating future issues. And yeah, my title did say that because someone came in here and told me that. So I'm changing that right now. Changed. So I'm not trying to clickbait. Just someone came in and said, oh my God, the cameras are gone. But they're not. Okay. So the analysis is intervention. There is not a widespread right of press or anyone else to routinely intervene in Idaho's criminal proceedings. Instead, the Idaho Supreme Court has endorsed a limited right applicable when a trial court's responsibility to balance the Sixth Amendment right of the accused and the First Amendment interests of the media if it becomes an issue. We hope they're good camera people. I mean, more than likely, you know, when they had cameras in other proceedings, they just have them set up. Like, they're not going to be zoomed. They're not even going to be manned. They're not even going to be manned. They'll probably just be mounted, like maybe one by the judge, you know, one on the, you know, remember Letitia Stalk? That's a good example, Cindy. How Letitia Stalk was. We got a couple different views, and that was that. And it was perfect. It was fine. We don't need the media drama. As a matter of fact, I don't want the media drama. As a matter of fact, I'd rather have this than have some mainstream media owning that stream and giving me problems, because that's what happens to me. So Judge has given it free to the public. That means any one of you, any one of me, it's all ours as the public. Amen, Judge. And that's all I'm going to say. Let's finish reading the analysis. Because the associated, okay, so it says here, there's no First Amendment or other constitutional right to record either by audio or visual any court proceedings in Idaho. While the press does enjoy a constitutional interest in access to our criminal courts and criminal justice process, the U.S. Supreme Court described that right as only as a right to sit, listen, watch, and report. That's what they have the right to. They don't have the right, like News Nation or Law and Crime, whoever, they're saying doesn't have the right to come in and plant cameras in our courtroom. They have the right to sit, listen, watch, and report. And that's what all the media used to do before it was so easy to record and stream. Okay? So I agree with that. I think he's very fair. I think that's true, you know? Because the Associated Press does not, I mean, in Daybell's case, we didn't even get to see them. All we got was audio at the end of the day, and it sucked. So I'm grateful. I think this is really fair. I think this is great. We're all going to be able to see the proceedings. So no one can say, oh, we don't know what's happening. It's a conspiracy. Blah, 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 blah. I just want to say, privilege, you hate this channel. So why don't you go ahead and scoot your ass out the door? I mean, really?
Objection!
Mods, come on now. You guys sleeping out there?
Another one bites the dust.
She comes in and asks if she's banned, and then when she's not, she says, I hate this channel.
C'est la vie, adios, fuck off and die.
All right, so it says here, in Idaho, the decision to limit, restrict, or prohibit audiovisual coverage at any proceeding is left to the discretion of the judge presiding over this case. Such decisions are not subject to appellate review. The presiding judge maintains the right to limit audiovisual coverage of any public hearing when the interests of the administration of justice requires. Authorization may be revoked at any time without prior notice when, in the discretion of the court, it appears that the audiovisual coverage is interfering in any way with the proper administration of justice. Few, if any, interests under the Constitution are more fundamental than the right to a fair trial by impartial jurors. Gentile versus State Bar of Nevada. And then he goes on to quote all of this case law. I'm not going to read all that. As demonstrated by some of the examples presented in the defense's motion to remove cameras from the courtroom, media cameras, both still and video, have and continue to zoom in on Kohberger, despite the court's order that images should capture the courtroom in its entirety. Thanks, you guys. Did Angie get her right away? I saw it. Good. Thank you, Ange. Thank you, Island. We love yo. We love yo. She says, I love this channel. So you know what? All right. So it says, as demonstrated, they did not follow the rules, he said. This is in direct violation of the court's previous directives not to film or take photographs. Remember, there was someone in the courtroom taking photographs, some private person. Even the Gonsalves acknowledged it. So it says, let's see. It is the intense focus on Kohberger and his every move, along with adverse headlines and news articles, that leads the court to conclude that continued photograph and video coverage inside the courtroom by the media should no longer be permitted. This step should help ensure Kohberger's right to a fair trial by an impartial jury and achieve a proper administration of justice. Additionally, defense counsel has raised continued concerns with video footage and photographs capturing private documents on counsel table. This is again in violation of the court's directives. The state has also raised issues of vulnerable victims and witnesses. At this juncture, the court has no confidence that directives to stop photographing or videoing during such testimony would be adhered to. Now, I'm going to say I've watched a lot of trials on law and crime, and no, I'm not trying to get down on them, but I mean, I've seen also on Indeed, they hire people to go into courtrooms and they let them film, right? They hire them as like videographer part-time, and they probably pay them like $15 an hour or something like that, or $200 a day. I don't know what it is, but they don't necessarily have to be professional camera people. So this might become a problem, because we've all seen whoopsies, haven't we, by the media? You guys have watched a lot of court trials. Haven't you seen a lot of whoopsies like, oh, whoops, in the Murdaugh trial? I didn't even watch the Murdaugh trial, and I know that the cameras in there showed autopsy photos. Whoopsie. Do you really think that the Idaho families want a whoopsie by a stupid law and crime photographer? No. If there's a whoopsie, it's going to be on the court. And I think it's responsible of Judge to do this. I think that you have irresponsible camera people within the media. They either aren't paying attention or they aren't skilled or whatever the case may be. But I feel like we don't need like autopsy photos or sensitive witnesses or jurors shown. Yeah, like when they showed the jurors. These are examples that are not good for the media's argument. For the media's argument of cameras in the courtroom. And who cares if he puts it on YouTube? Judge Middleton puts it on YouTube all day long. And it's monetized. Who cares? We get to see it. Who even knows if it's going to be monetized? Not many judges monetize it. Judge Middleton monetizes, and he buys bus tickets for people who say they can't get to court. So I don't see why anyone would complain about this ruling. I think it's awesome. I think it's completely fair. I really do. Additionally, defense counsel has raised continued concerns with videos, capturing private documents. At this juncture, the court has no confidence that directives to stop. Okay, we read that. To be clear, now listen now. To be clear, the court is not accusing all journalists and media outlets of violating the court's orders. However, a court-operated video system will give the court greater control over what is being videoed, will lessen the burden on the bailiffs, and help alleviate counsel's concerns, and will also allow the media and the public access to the video footage of the proceedings. I don't care if they show him or not. And who cares how they're doing it? We get to see the court proceedings, and that is what people should be concerned of. CR, you're right. He could have just said, you know what? Fuck y'all. You're not even going to get audio. At least he's letting us watch it. I don't know why anyone would be upset over this. Hijacking trials to put on personal YouTube channels? How do you even know what's going on YouTube? I haven't even gotten there yet. For the reasons set forth above, audiovisual coverage of any proceedings will be exclusively done by the court. Media and the public are not allowed to video, photograph, audio, or any transmit during the proceedings. Future public hearings will be video recorded, and that live stream will be available on the court's YouTube channel. The court reserves the right to amend or prohibit audiovisual coverage in the future if it is determined that videoing the proceedings is interfering in any way with the proper administration of justice. So don't fuck with it, guys. Don't fuck with it or he's going to take it away. So they're going to record and they're going to upload to YouTube. Where do you want them to put it? I mean, YouTube was the go-to during COVID. Where else do you want them to upload it to? I guess I don't get it. But anyways, I'm happy. We get to watch the trial. Amen. Case closed. Let's move on with our presentation for today. Because, I mean, there's nothing to bitch about here. If y'all still bitching after he's letting you see the proceedings, I'm thinking maybe you want to see them for the wrong reasons. Or you want to see them done a certain way for the wrong reasons. Because there's no reason to be mad about this, in my opinion. Now, this is something to be mad about. Right here, Kohberger's hands, that's something to get fucking upset about. But the fact that Judge is now letting us watch it. Yeah, Letitia Stalk. The jurors were shown. I mean, it's a shit show out there sometimes. And this is a huge case. Do you think that he wants to take any chances that some stupid media person is going to accidentally show something they shouldn't? Either way, Kohberger's going down, and that's that. No, I mean, he could have banned them all together. I can't see complaining about something that's actually kind of fair. That actually went in our favor for once. I mean, look at Richard Allen's mess. That's why we're all confused. That's why there's tons of conspiracy theories out there, because we haven't seen anything. And it makes people feel uneasy, rightfully so. So, hi, Meg. All right, so we're going to get into our presentation today. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you guys over to the boob tube. Need some ass. Oh, I thought it said need some ass. Need some Z's. I thought it said need some ass. I don't understand what there is to complain about here. We get to see the trial, and that's what matters. That's all that matters. There ain't nothing else that matters. And Kohberger's cooked like this year's Thanksgiving turkey. Okay, so today's presentation is going to be based on Nancy Grace's interview with this woman who said that she met BTK. So she was stalked by him. And then I have put some parallels in here to things that I think reminded me of the Idaho 4. So we're just going to start rolling it. And I'll probably cut in and out, and then I'm going to upload this in its entirety so you can watch it without me yammering in between. But I'm going to yammer in between and kind of back up my points and let you know where I'm coming from. Teresa, thank you so much for your Venmo. Thank you. You guys, keep on donating. I'll put the personal donators. I will tally that up. I promise today, and I will put our 2 top winners. So if you're donating to PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, there's 2 wieners. You get double options here. Double chances. Woo! Here we go. I hope you enjoy. I hope you enjoy. Let me make sure I've got my audio over here on the boob tube. You know, sometimes let me adjust the foil. We got to adjust the foil here. Okay, here we go.
I know for a fact they locked their doors. So by all means, they did everything right.
Correct.
There was a keypad on their front door. I will say, due to the closeness of the community and due to the safeness of it, I think a lot of people had access to that door.
In today's live, we're going to be talking about
Dennis Rader.
Same with Catherine. They got out of hand.
All right, now you indicated that you believe you had Kevin tie Catherine up. Tell me what happened then.
Okay, I moved, after, I really can't remember, Judge, whether I had her tie him up or she tied him up, but anyway, I moved, kind of tied her in the other bedroom, and I came back to strangle him, and at that time we had a fight.
The killer attacked Maddie first, then moved on to Kaylee.
There's evidence to show that she awakened and tried to get out of that situation.
They say she cried out, and her wounds show she fought for her life.
The way the bed was set up is what...
She was trapped.
She was trapped.
Xana.
You could see the blood, and as far as I was concerned, I thought he was down, and was out, and then went and started to strangle Catherine. And then we started fighting because bonds weren't very good, and so back and forth we fought. Catherine? Yeah, we fought. And I got the best of her, and I thought she was going down, and then I could hear some movement in the other room. So I went back, and Kevin, no, I thought she was going down, and I went back to the other bedroom where Kevin was at, and I tried to re-strangle him at that time, and he jumped up, and we fought.
Xana also fought back. According to her father, she had severe defensive wounds.
She went down fighting.
I believe so. It's upsetting to think about.
She was always a very strong person.
She was fighting, and at that point in time, I've been fighting her, and then I heard some, I don't know whether I was basically losing control. The strangulation wasn't working on her, and I used a knife on her.
You say you used a knife on her.
Yes.
What did you do with the knife?
I stabbed her. I think she said either stabbed 2 or 3 times, either here or here. Maybe 2 back here and 1 here, or maybe just 2 times back here.
You were pointing to your lower back and your
underneath the ribs.
And your lower abdomen.
All of a sudden, the front door of the house was open, and he was gone. And I tell you what I thought. I thought the police were coming at that time. I heard the door open. I thought, no, that's it. And I stepped out there, and I could see him running down the street. So I quickly cleaned up everything that I could and left.
All right, no.
On one of Nancy Grace's recent podcasts, She interviewed a woman who previously met Dennis Rader and was stalked by him, allegedly.
Dennis Rader. That's right. This woman met up with him for a date of sorts. She got a sixth sense just before they left alone, and she lived to tell the story.
Kohberger was arrested. This woman couldn't believe her eyes.
I recognized him immediately, and my heart just sank because I couldn't believe that, I was face to face with this guy.
Nurse Haley Willett says they met on Tinder in 2015 when they were both psych majors at Pennsylvania colleges.
Okay, so random fun fact about this one. The lady that Nancy Grace interviewed was also a nurse.
He took her to a movie, then insisted.
And this is what she looked like when Kohberger went to school with her.
On escorting her to her dorm room.
I was kind of afraid to say no, so I just let him come in with me.
Then he did something she says she'll never forget.
He kept trying to tickle me, and I would ask him to stop, or I'd say, "What are you doing?" And he would be like, I'm not tickling you," and he would get very serious.
Creeped out by Kohberger, she came up with a clever ruse.
I proceeded to pretend to throw up in the bathroom, hoping that, it would gross him out.
But watch out, BTK, because some jurisdictions still have the death penalty. Talking about old Sparky, the needle. Don't get too comfy.
It was February of 1974, and my coworkers, we were nurses at a local hospital, and after our evening shift, we would go to this disco bar just to chill out before we went home to call it a day. And it was a Saturday night, and one of my coworkers and I, we had the evening off, the weekend off, so we decided we would go to this disco bar that was connected to a hotel. And I'm sitting there with her, and she goes out to dance, leaving me sitting alone. And this man that I had watched, he was pacing back and forth. He wore a maroon suit and had on white shoes. He came over to ask me to dance, and it was a slow dance. And he talked to me, and he asked me what my name was and told me, "Tell me about yourself," which I did. And I just told him that, my age, and that I was just recently divorced and where I worked. And then I said, "Well, tell me about yourself. What is your name?" And he said, "Bob White." And he's trying to explain to me why he has white shoes on. He said he wore white shoes, had them on because he lived in California, and the people in California wore white shoes all year round. And then the dance, well, first of all, I said, "Well, what kind of business are you here in Wichita on?" He said one word to me. He said McConnell, and that's an Air Force base here. So he escorts me back to my chair after the dance, and in a little bit he comes over. He tells me he has to leave, but that he would like to see me again.
Yikes.
And against my better judgment, I've never been taught to do this, I gave him my phone number. So, and he told me he would call me on a Tuesday. That was the day I had to return to work, evening shift. He calls me, and we agreed to meet at a restaurant. This restaurant was in a mall, a very popular mall, just down the street from the hospital. He tells me he might be a little late, but I arrived at around 1 p.m. And when I go in, I'm expecting to be there first because he told me he might be late. Well, when I walked in there, he was standing there waiting for me, and he was totally different. He did not even look like the same man. He was dressed in what I would call work clothes that someone would be working out in the cold. He had a hat on that had ear flaps to protect the ears. He had like a heavy jacket. He had gloves on. He had, I believe, khaki pants and boots. And he had a bag with him that looked out of place. And I looked at it, and he told me that it had his books in it. And I said, well, I thought you had said you might be late. And he said, yes, I had to take a bus all the way down Hillside from WSU.
Guys,
he
says he takes a bus all the way down from WSU.
Get out of my brain, Nancy.
What in your area is WSU?
It's Wichita State University.
Yikes.
And Hillside is a very popular street, well-traveled.
So he took a bus, he says, from Hillside to meet you at the mall. What mall was it?
Harry Street Mall. It's just east of St. Joseph Hospital.
Okay, so you're at lunch. What happens?
We go to sit down, and by then I'm becoming really nervous because it wasn't like I had remembered him at all. I even thought, do I have the right man? But he seemed to recognize me.
Now, isn't that weird? He looked that different.
So we sit down, and he starts some conversation about a parochial school and tells me he hated them because he was once in an orphanage.
Like I was face to face with this guy.
Nurse Haley Willett says they met on Tinder in 2015 when they were both psych majors at Pennsylvania colleges. He took her to a movie, then insisted on escorting her to her dorm room.
I was kind of afraid to say no, so I just let him come in with me, trying to tickle me. And I would ask him to stop, or I'd say, what are you doing? And he would be like, I'm not tickling you. And he would get very serious.
Creeped out by Kohberger,
I proceeded to pretend to throw up in the bathroom, hoping that, it would gross him out and he would leave. He had messaged me on Tinder and said that he was leaving and that he had a good time and that he would message me later. And then about an hour later, he messaged me and he said that I had good birthing hips, and I just never messaged him back after that.
And then it leads on into, he asked me, he said, who do you live with? And he wanted specifically who I live with. I told him my mother, my dad, my 2 children, and my brother. He said, is there ever any time that you're alone? And I said, no. People are around me all the time.
Is there any time you're ever alone? Now, I thought immediately of the Instagram post, the final one that was done on November the 12th, of all of the roommates.
Alone. And I said, no, people are around me all the time.
One lucky girl to be surrounded by these people every day.
So we have a little bit more conversation, and then he said, do you know of a place that we can be alone? He said, because I do these things, or we are going to be doing some things that no one can see, hear, or know about. And I insisted I didn't know of any place. Then we go on into the conversation. He tells me that he does photography and that he uses a Polaroid, and that he often did some of these things at his parents' house. He never mentioned California again. And then...
Where did he indicate his parents were?
He didn't indicate. I just assumed California, but now I know his parents were in Wichita. And his parents lived in Wichita, around Seneca Street.
Mm-hmm.
So then we changed the conversation. It gets it's hard to have conversation with him. And I realized I was too afraid to leave. I just sat there. I think,
what do you mean by that? You were too afraid to leave?
I was afraid that if I tried to leave, he would follow me and maybe get me alone. I was really afraid, so I thought, you're going to have to sit here until it's time for you to go to work. So I thought, I've got a lot of conversation to try to make with him. So there was pauses, and suddenly he appears very upset, and he says to me, I have a problem with this city. And I'm thinking, well, you're from California. And I said, well, what kind of problem? And he said, city politics. And
city politics?
I was just trying to make conversation about things in Wichita. And I said, did you hear about that family that was murdered a few weeks ago? And he says, yeah, they found a boot print in the snow outside the window. And then he said, and yeah, the detective sure had a mess to clean up.
Mm.
And I said, oh.
He's sitting there having lunch with this woman, and he's like, oh, they sure had a mess to clean up. And she's like, what?
I said, well, how would you know that? I said, do you work with law enforcement? And he said, no. And I said, well, how did you know that then? And he said, the chief of security at WSU. And so we talk about a few more things, and suddenly he gets angry or looks angry with me.
My daughter broke up with him, and within a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, she had an interaction with a date. And she said, call me a bitch. And she was like, I've been with one boy my whole life.
And I said, he's never called you. And she's like, never, Mom. And I said, really?
And that's about Jack, right? So let's go back a couple more seconds. Make sure you heard that nice and clear. She went on a date. Her and Jack broke up. And then Kaylee went on a date with somebody who called her a bitch.
Suddenly he gets angry or looks angry with me.
My daughter broke up with him, and within a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, she had an interaction with a date. And she said, call me a bitch. And she was like, I've been with one boy my whole life.
And I said, he's never called you. And she's like, never, Mom. And I said, really? And she goes, never. And he said, bitch, you could go make me a quesadilla. And she said, what did you say? And she said, I'm leaving. And she goes, and I left. And I went home like, oh, Jack.
She's like, I might not ever find another Jack.
And I'm like, you might not. Like, there's just because Kaylee was leaving.
Kaylee was looking for every excuse for him to pick the phone up.
Yes.
To read those texts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I will leave tonight with the dog if you don't pick up.
Okay, so Steve says you have to listen really carefully that she was doing whatever she could to get Jack to pick up the phone. And then he says that if you read her text, she says, I'm going home with the dog if you don't answer. Could that have been some of the texts from that night? Let's listen to that part again. It's really super interesting.
I broke up with him, and within a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, she had an interaction with a date. And she said, call me a bitch. And she was like, I've been with one boy my whole life.
And I said, he's never called you. And she's like, never, Mom. And I said, really? And she goes, never. And he said, bitch, you could go make me a quesadilla. And she said, what did you say? And she said, I'm leaving. And she goes, and I left. And I went home like, oh, Jack.
She's like, I might not ever find another Jack.
And I'm like, you might not. Like, there's just because Kaylee was leaving.
Kaylee was looking for every excuse for him to pick the phone up.
Yes.
To read those texts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I will leave tonight with the dog if you don't pick up. That type of thing.
Oh, so yeah. And they, even when they broke up, they still communicated.
Yes,
it
every
sounds
day,
like
all the
it's
time.
like you know.
The whole time she was
that
home.
bar scene,
it was just a.
they were around him. Not
They were
this Jack Showalter over here in the corner. No, she was around.
They were around him, not this Jack Showalter over here in the corner.
They were around him. Not
They were
this Jack Showalter over here in the corner. No, she was around her ex, you know, and to me that's comfort level, that's body language, this is the person that I'm comfortable in.
We talked to him about the conversation that night. We talked to the other guy about the conversation that went on that night, and they both, you know, they were just like, hey, what's been up? Boy, how you been doing? You know, what's been going on? And she was trying to talk him into going to another bar down the street or something like that. And he's like, I worked all day. I'm tired. I'm going home. And he left and went home. And
she was trying to talk him into going to another bar down the street. And he said, I'm going home.
You know, we think things could have been different. You know.
And he said, you find a place, because I do these things and I take pictures and record while I'm doing them. And then he indicates that the bag he had with him that was sitting on the floor in the restaurant, he says, I have my things, my equipment in this bag.
He was there to kill.
He came in with a kit. I believe he had a kill kit. And you...
All planned.
It was inhumane. You wouldn't do these type of things to any living creature, let alone an innocent human being.
And I'm sitting there, you know, just frightened and thinking, how am I going to get out of here? And so we have some more conversation, and he asked me if he said he had to go to Hellsberg's, which was a jewelry store in the mall, to visit her friend. And he called her by name and said, do you know her? And I said, no, I didn't know her. And finally, I have to leave. I'm almost late for work, and I jumped up real abruptly. I think I ran out of the restaurant. I don't know if the coffee was even paid for, but I start on my way to the car, and he follows me. And I looked up, put my hand up, like, stop. I said, I'm going to be late for work.
Hey, Cater. Okay, so I'm going to stop it and read this for you guys. The Moscow Police Department revealed that investigators identified an incident at a local business in mid-October, which may have been the stalker reference Gonsalves made to friends and family. 2 men were seen inside the unnamed business. As they parted ways, one of them appeared to follow Gonsalves after she left to go to her car, police said. But the male turned away, and it does not appear he made any contact with her. Detectives contacted both men, who told them they were trying to meet women at the business. Their story was corroborated through further probing, police said. 2 men parted ways and one followed Gonsalves to her car. Yes.
And he said, well, I'll call you on Thursday. And I thought, okay, I've got to come up with an excuse before then. Then he tells me he's going back into the mall to go visit his friend at Hellsberg's. So I go on to work, and 2 days later, it's Valentine's Day. I remember that specifically. It was my first Valentine's after my husband left me. And when he calls me at 1 o'clock, I promptly tell him, I can't see you again. I am taking my husband back. My kids really need him. And sarcastically, he says this poem to me. It's something about little lady in a shoe locking up and tying up my kids. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? What is that supposed to mean? And he said, well, you know, little lady can't handle her kids, so she has to take hubby back. And shortly after that, I said, well, I have to go. And he said, oh, Gina. And I said, yes. And he said, roses are red, peonies are pink. I cannot remember the third line, but the fourth line was, I'll sure be blue without you. And we hung up. And I thought about this man, but I always pictured him being back in California. And when something would happen in Wichita, I would think of him, but think, oh no, he's in California. Well, then things around a few years, well, let me take this back. 2 years from that date, and I don't know who this was, but my husband and I had taken him back. We went to a Valentine party at a sorority. And my babysitter, her parents were going to be at the same party, and they asked me if my babysitter could spend the night with us because they were going to be out really late. I said that would be fine. Well, we went to the party. When I come back, we walk in the door. I meet the babysitter. There's tears in her eyes. Her lip is trembling. She said, there's been a man calling for you all evening long.
My
He's
God.
asking for you.
So her and her husband went to a party. She got back together with her husband eventually. So at this time, this lady was separated from her husband, and that's when she went on a date with him. Well, she ended up getting back with her husband. Okay, now check this out. The babysitter's like, this man has been calling all night long for you.
And she said, I looked out the window and there was a man standing in your yard. And I don't know if I just had a false sense of security. I can't remember, but I knew my husband was there and that things would probably be okay. We didn't see anything unusual when we pulled in the drive.
Okay, so they didn't see anything unusual when they pulled in the drive. They were thinking, okay, we'll be fine. Now back to Kaylee's stalker.
Kaylee had a stalker, if that was really true. I said this,
Okay, watch when Bryan asks the question. Olivia is shaking her head yes, and Christy is shaking her head no.
Kaylee had a stalker, if that was really true. I said this, she's a pretty girl, her friends are really pretty, so them attracting attention was pretty common wherever they went. So I think she attracted attention, whether that's a dedicated person following her around, maybe not. I do believe that the officers looked in it, and I believe what they said, that there was no evidence there.
Falling apart a little bit and, really looking at specific events that have been strange or maybe should have been looked into more in our eyes.
So we all go to bed. My babysitter's sleeping on the couch. My children are sleeping in their rooms. And about 2:15, 2:30, I wake up and I hear a car pulling in the drive. You can hear there's crackling from ice on the driveway. And I nudged my husband. I said, there's someone here. Let me get it, because I didn't want anyone to persuade anyone that they needed inside the house. So I go down the hallway and he's banging on the front door. And I said, who is it? And they wouldn't use any words. I said, who is it? What do you want? And they're just pounding on the door. But they're making a growling type sound, like they were angry. And then when he couldn't get in the door, he reaches over to my living room window and is trying to get in that.
So scary.
And then he goes over to my little girl's room and tries to get in there.
Did you see his face?
No, I didn't. But my little girl said she saw the shadow of him, and it was a man. She said there must have been a full moon, because she said I could see his shadow, and he was trying to get into my bedroom.
God almighty.
Funk. So let's review some of the things that we have seen and have been leaked into the media, because when you piece them together, they tell a little bit of a story. So here's the first article. It was Funk who found the bloodied bodies of her 3 housemates, and she has argued she should not have to appear because she now lives in Nevada, not Idaho. That was what stuck out to me. And through her lawyers, she slapped down the foreign subpoena and said a judge must have a hearing before Funk can be required to testify. And then if you go down, it says one of the survivors allegedly heard a commotion and witnessed a masked man exit through a rear sliding door, according to a police affidavit. The second survivor, in this case, Funk, is alleged to have heard or saw things that could clear the suspect, according to Batante's affidavit. Batante argues that the information Funk possesses is unique to her experience and cannot be provided by another witness. The next one, and these are all from mainstream media sources. Investigator Richard Batante, who is working for Ann Taylor, Mr. Kohberger's lawyer, has subpoenaed Miss Funk to appear at the accused killer's hearing on June 28th. Now, the hearing's going from June 26th until June 30th. That is what they have slotted, and they have her wanting to come on the second day. So what is that? I don't know why. Why wouldn't they want her there on the first day if she has something that could exonerate Mr. Kohberger? But more importantly, according to the affidavit, she allegedly witnessed a naked man run through a rear sliding door. She lived on the first floor of the home and came face to face with the alleged killer. So this is what has been leaked about the affidavit that Richard Batante put out.
And she said, I was trying to tell you, but you were already down the hall. And so,
what
you know,
what month would this have been, Gina?
It's February of around 12th through the 14th, because we've been to a Valentine party, and it was in 1976. It was 2 years later.
2 years later.
To the date.
Got it.
2 years later, he stalked this woman. 2 years.
Yeah. And so I'm standing there just frozen.
She told police she was in a frozen shock phase by what she saw.
She says another victim of this crime.
Did you hear the woman? I just stood there frozen.
Yeah. And so I'm standing there just frozen.
She told police she was in a frozen shock phase by what she saw.
She says another victim of this crime. I mean, this is a girl that's wasn't prepared to see what she's seen. My heart goes out to her.
Because by then, this person is at the front door, and he sounds like he's using tools to try to get in through the doorknob, you know, like he's doing something to the doorknob. And I thought, oh my God, they're trying to get in here anyway. And about that time, my husband flies down the hall and he said, get the hell out of here. I have a gun. And that person flew off the porch and must have backed out of the drive. I don't even think I heard the car go.
So maybe he didn't expect her husband to be there. Kind of like maybe BK wasn't expecting Ethan to be there.
And I did call the police and tell them what had happened. And they said, do you want us to come out? And I said, oh, I guess it's not necessary. They're gone now. So that's pretty much, I mean, there were some other things that happened in between there, things that I thought must be my imagination. But
well, like what?
When I would come home from work, sometimes it would seem like someone had been in my house.
Okay, so she felt like when she got home from work, someone had been in her house. Now let's read through some of the Moscow police blotters. 1400 block of Mountain View Road. This was in November of 2022. This is before the murders. Reporting party found a chair that was moved. and her apartment smells like cigarette smoke. This is on White Ave in Moscow.
Things just didn't seem right. And I have a necklace that's missing that it's not an expensive necklace, but it had been given to me for a Christmas present. And I thought I might have some articles of clothing missing. And at some point, I had a driver's license missing, but my purse, I always kept my driver's license in my purse, and I never was without it. So I don't know how anyone would have got access to my driver's license. But
I don't know if we got her wallet.
We got things from her room. Her room really wasn't part of it.
I'm talking about her wallet with her ID in it and her debit card. And
her bank records. The amount of records on Kaylee was probably. Yeah, we have those items.
We have her ID.
And she had so many IDs. It's hard to. She had a lot of college IDs.
That's a little awkward, huh? A little awkward. Let's watch that part again.
Was without it, so I don't know how anyone would have got access to my driver's license. But
I don't know if we got her wallet.
We got things from her room. Her room really wasn't part of it.
I'm talking about her wallet with her ID in it and her debit card. And
her bank records.
They're telling us without telling us, in my opinion. No, I mean her ID, her debit card. Remember there were IDs found with Bryan Kohberger in Pennsylvania? You gotta listen. No, her ID. So they're basically kind of telling us we haven't seen her ID. So in other words, the PD probably has it, right? That's what I kind of put together from it. Let's listen again.
Her wallet.
We got things from her room. Her room really wasn't part of it.
I'm talking about her wallet with her ID in it and her debit card. And
her bank records. The amount of records on Kaylee was probably. Yeah, we have those items.
We have her ID.
And she had so many IDs. It's hard to. She had a lot of college IDs, a lot of high school IDs. So I don't know if I actually.
We all had a lot of IDs.
I don't know if I've actually seen it. Interesting. At Walmart, 4 to 5 different wallets were turned into reporting party, and they all have IDs and money in them. Reporting party wanting to turn them over to LE.
Did this happen?
Weird.
This would have happened between probably 1974 and 1977. Sometime during that. It was probably, it just kept happening on and off. Someone was calling me on the phone, and they were playing that song, Lay Down, Sally. A lot. And then some man kept calling and just harassing me, and I kept saying, "You've got the wrong number. Quit calling here."
Can you imagine answering the phone and hearing that upbeat song of someone who's scaring you? When you answer, he ruined that song for me.
Probably, it just kept happening on and off. Someone was calling me on the phone, and they were playing that song, Lay Down, Sally. A lot. And then some man kept calling and just harassing me, and I kept saying, "You've got the wrong number. Quit calling here." And I said, "There's no Sally here." And finally, I told him I was going to call the telephone company. At some point, and I don't remember when, I don't remember the time frames, other than those dates that I gave you.
Wait
but
for it.
Somewhere in between this window, some man knocked on my door. He said he was from the phone company and that they had noticed trouble on my line and that someone had tampered with my phone lines outside my house.
Here we are. We're back to White Ave. We're here on White Ave in Moscow. Back to the blotter. Let's see what this blotter says. Oh my goodness. There is a male that has shown up to Reporting Party's apartment multiple times, saying that he works for Ziply. That's their Wi-Fi company in Moscow, by the way. Officers responded, no report. Wait for it. Here we are again on White Ave. Let's see what this one says. Oh my goodness. Reporting Party reporting a male that she believes is pretending to be a Ziply employee to get Social Security number information. Yikes. Oh, here's another one. 600 block of North Almond Street. Reporting, oh, here we go. Reporting Party, reporting people outside talking while everyone else is asleep, and that a white sedan sped away just prior to calling.
Yeah. What is on it?
Her speaker. It's kind of unusual item not to give back. The laptops, multiple laptops, not just one. All electronics, it seems like they've kept of hers. So, and her bake records, the amount of records on Kayla was probably, I think fairly to say, was more than the other victims.
I began to get suspicious around 1977 when the Wichita police started making information available, like Wichita had a serial killer, and this is what he was like, this is what he did. They said he said poems about his victims, and I thought, well, this man said poems to me. And then when BTK said, what shall I call myself? Shall I call myself the Hillside Strangler? Should I call myself the Poetic Strangler? Or should I call myself BTK? Well, I identified with that because he had said poems to me. This man had. He had said he...
Here's a poem that he wrote. It a big complicated game, my friend, of the monster play, putting victims' number down, follow them, checking up on them, waiting in the dark, waiting. The pressure is great, and sometimes he runs the game to his liking. Maybe you can stop him. I can't. He has already chosen his next victim or victims. I don't know who they are yet. The next day, after I read the paper, I will know, but it'll be too late. Good luck hunting. Yours truly guiltily. P.S. Since sex criminals do not change their M.O., or by nature cannot do so, I will not change mine. The code word for me will be bind them, torture them, kill them. BTK. You see, he's at it again. BTK.
Had to take a bus all the way down WSU. And I began getting suspicious, but then I would say, no, that man's in California. Shortly after that, we moved to Arizona. Mm-hmm. But when I would come back for a visit, I would ask everyone, what do you think happened? And they said, well, we heard he's either in prison or he's dead. Because it was just so silent. And then in Arizona, about maybe 30 years later, my daughter calls me. She's crying and she says, Mother, BTK's back. And I said, oh, no, honey. I said, that lawyer just made a book. And she says, no, he's back. So I get on the internet, I look, and sure enough, he has resurfaced. So they're asking for tips. So I call on a Saturday morning and I give my tips. I was sure I knew who they were looking for by then. But I couldn't give him a name because he told me his name was Bob White, which, that's kind of a joke now. I fell for it.
He told her his name was Bob White. We heard that in the very beginning. Okay. And this may or may not be related, but it's something weird that I found when I was looking at reviews of K-Bar knives on Amazon.
Give him a name because he told me his name was Bob White, which, that's kind of a joke now. I fell for it.
Nice weight to it, says Mike. Daniel White, very nice. The box and the sheath, delicious. Delicious? Yikes. Oh, my God.
And so I was watching everything about their investigations. And when they found him, I was waiting on the pictures. And sure enough, I seen his pictures from what he looked like when I met him that day. That time frame. I seen his Butler County picture. That was him. I looked at some of his other pictures and just a little tiny older version of him, and then his later version. But I watched him on his court trial. He walks like him. He talks like him. He looks like him, just older. I can't think of any reason why it wouldn't be.
When you saw his picture of his younger self, did you know that was Bob White?
Absolutely.
Joining me right now is an all-star panel to make sense of what we have just heard from Gina Rodriguez. 100% certain that she met up on a date with BTK. Not meeting him once, but twice.
What do you guys think? I mean, there's a lot of weird coincidences. Let's go back to our live screen. Whoa, welcome back. So what are you guys picking up what I'm laying down here? I'm going to go back and read through some of your comments as we watched this because I was trying to keep up with what was playing so I could explain. Miss Robin, Lisk on his dates talked to the escorts about the murders. Right. And Rader did that with this lady. Somebody was confused on the wallet part. Let's listen to the wallet part again. And it's really weird, too, that he stalked her 2 years after going on this date. Like, he never got over it. She's lucky to be alive.
It's February of around 12th through the 14th because we've been to a Valentine party. And it was in 1976. It was 2 years later.
2 years later.
To the date.
Got it.
Yeah. And so I'm standing there just frozen.
She told police she was in a frozen shock phase by what she saw.
I think it's another victim of this crime. I mean, this is a girl that's wasn't prepared to see what she's seen. My heart goes out to her.
Because by then, this person is at the front door, and he sounds like he's using tools to try to get in through the doorknob, like.
Where did that part go? Oh, right here? Hold on.
Yeah. What is on it?
Her speaker. It's kind of unusual item not to give back. The laptops, multiple laptops, not just one. All electronics, it seems like they've kept of hers. So, and her bake records, the amount of records on Kayla was probably, I think fairly to say, was more than the other victims.
I began to get suspicious around 1977 when the Wichita police started making information available.
Where is that section? Let me replay it. I got to go back. Okay, so here it is. We're going to listen to this lady talk about her license, what happened to her with her license. Then we'll listen to the Gonsalves.
Roses are red, peonies are pink. I cannot.
He wrote her a poem that said, roses are red and panties are pink. Sick. Undie girl that lives on freaking Queen Road, 500 Queen Road.
Promptly tell him, I can't see you again. I am taking my husband back. My kids really need him. And sarcastically, he says this poem to me. It's something about little lady in a shoe locking up and tying up my kids. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? What is that supposed to mean? And he said, well, you know, little lady can't handle her kids, so she has to take hubby back. And shortly after that, I said, well, I have to go. And he said, oh, Gina. And I said, yes. And he said, roses are red, peonies are pink. I cannot remember the third line, but the fourth line was, I'll sure be blue without you. And we hung up. And I thought about this man, but I always pictured him being back in California. And when something would happen in Wichita, I would think of him, but think, oh no, he's in California. Well, then things around a few years, well, let me take this back. 2 years from that date, and I don't know who this was, but my husband and I had taken him back. We went to a Valentine party at a sorority. And my babysitter, her parents were going to be at the same party, and they asked me if my babysitter could spend the night with us because they were going to be out really late. I said that would be fine. Well, we went to the party. When I come back, we walk in the door. I meet the babysitter. There's tears in her eyes. Her lip is trembling. She said, there's been a man calling for you all evening long, keeps asking for you. And she said, I looked out the window and there was a man standing in your yard. And I don't know if I just had a false sense of security. I can't remember, but I knew my husband was there and that things would probably be okay. We didn't see anything unusual when we pulled in the drive.
Kaylee had a stalker, if that was really true. I said this, she's a pretty girl, her friends were really pretty, so them attracting attention was pretty common wherever they went. So I think she attracted attention, whether that's a dedicated person following her around, maybe not. I do believe that the officers looked in it, and I believe what they said, that there was no evidence there.
Falling apart a little bit and, you know, really looking at specific events that have been strange or maybe should have been looked into more in our eyes.
So we all go to bed. My babysitter's sleeping on the couch. My children are sleeping in their rooms. And about 2:15, 2:30, I wake up and I hear a car pulling in the drive. You can hear there's crackling from ice on the driveway. And I nudged my husband. I said, there's someone here. Let me get it, because I didn't want anyone to persuade anyone that they needed inside the house. So I go down the hallway and he's banging on the front door. And I said, who is it? And they wouldn't use any words. I said, who is it? What do you want? And they're just pounding on the door. But they're making a growling type sound, like they were angry.
Yikes.
And then when he couldn't get in the door, he reaches over to my living room window and is trying to get in that. And then he goes over to my little girl's room and tries to get in there.
Did you see his face?
No, I didn't. But my little girl.
So who thinks that maybe Bryan was trying to get into the house a different way initially? Is it possible? Because remember, they were dusting that window by the kitchen really well, and they were focusing on the front windows really well, dusting them for prints. I mean, it could have just been routine that they were seeing if he had, the same prints would be on all the windows, but BTK went from window to window. I mean, this is shit that nightmares are truly made out of. Yes, Mandy Joe, the boogeyman. It's like what Christy said. It's the boogie. He's the boogeyman.
Said she saw the shadow of him, and it was a man. She said there must have been a full moon, because she said I could see his shadow, and he was trying to get into my bedroom.
Funk. So let's review some of the things that we have seen and have been leaked into the media, because when you piece them together, they tell a little bit of a story. So here's the first article. I was looking for the wallet part. I'm confused now. This is the frozen shock phase. This is stuff being moved. Here we go.
License missing.
Her license was missing. This lady, BTK, took her license.
And they said, do you want us to come out? And I said, oh, I guess it's not necessary. They're gone now. So that's pretty much, there were some other things that happened in between there, things that I thought
she's like
must
what?
be my imagination. But
like what?
When I would come home from work, sometimes it would seem like someone had been in my house.
Yikes. So if you remember, Bryan Kohberger was sitting on this road. Okay, on Mountain View Road. Mountain View Road, I'll show you. Let's do a little Google Mappage. Want to do a little Google Mappage? I say yes. I showed this in another video, but let me tell you. The Moscow Police Department is right down the hill. And if you remember, there was a news report. I did a video on it, and the guy was standing down by Moscow Police Department, and you could see up to that road. Yeah, you could. Yes, you could. Okay, so let's go down here. It's pretty sad. I know where these roads are, but let me pull up. Let me get my window up here for you guys. It's crazy town. It's like having a whole bunch of little puzzle pieces, and then you've only got the puzzle partially put together, So it doesn't really make sense when you look at it, but it starts to make more sense as you go. So here is the map. Let's take a look. So here's the Moscow Police Department. The Groves is, that's Indian Hills. What was the name of that road again? Mountain View Road. Hold on. I might be wrong here. I thought it's Indian Hills. Mountain View Road, Moscow, Idaho. Moscow. Let's see. North Mountain View Road. Oh, shit. That's out in the... Oh, it's by that trailer park, right? Or no? Why am I not familiar with Mountain View Road? I thought it was that one by the... Wow, I thought that was the road by the Moscow Police Department. But it's not. Hold on a second. There is nothing around here. What the heck? Who lives on Mountain View Road? 1400 block of Mountain View. Look how beautiful it is there, man. I want to live on Mountain View Road. Does anybody know what Mountain View? Has anybody looked into this? It doesn't look like it. 1400 Mountain View Road. Wonder if there's apartments down here. Mr. Do-It-All. This is the area, guys. Mountain View Road. Interesting. And this is from October of 2021 as well. So there's a lot of houses on this road. I don't know. Yikes. 1400 block. This is 1316. Let's see. We need to go this way. That's 1200. So one of these homes is the 14, starts 14. I don't see an address on that one. Maybe apartments right here? 20 something A and B? I don't know. I don't know, guys. I don't know about this Mountain View Road now. That's interesting that I never saw that before. What's this one? Ooh, this one's 1325 Mountain View Road. All right, so let's go back to the videos. I don't know. Beckles, I'm going to have to go back and look because I was mistaken on what I thought Mountain View Road was. I thought Mountain View Road was Indian Hills Road, so I was confused on those two roads. Oh my gosh, yes, but it was so weird that they were right there, Mandy. So let's see what happened on Mountain View Road. Oh, that was when shit was moved. So it was an apartment. Reporting party found a chair that was moved and her apartment smells like cigarette smoke.
Things just didn't seem right. And I have a necklace that's missing that it's not an expensive necklace, but it had been given to me for a Christmas present. And I thought I might have some articles of clothing missing. And at some point, I had a driver's license missing, but my purse, I always kept my driver's license in my purse, and I never was without it. So I don't know how anyone would have got access to my driver's license. But
I don't know if we got her wallet. Like,
we got things from her room. Her room really wasn't part of it.
I'm talking about her wallet with her ID in it and her debit card. And
her bank records. The amount of records on Kayla was probably. Yeah, we have those items.
We have her ID.
I feel like Christy wants everybody to know that they don't have her ID, and that the ID or one of the IDs that they found in Brian's car could be Kaylee's. Oh, that's okay. I'm looking at North Mountain View. Oh, you're so right, Tracy V. Tracy V, you are so right. Mountain View is right on the corner of White. O-M motherfucking G. Good job, Tracy. Check this. Check it, guys. Check it. Oh, wow. So this apartment complex right here. See this? That's White Ave. Wait. So that's White Ave. And guess what that crossroad is? Boom. Mountain View Road. And you have businesses and shiz. It's like apartments over here. See all these apartments around here? Yoicks. And then if you look around over here, there's apartment complexes right here as well. So I'm not sure if they had a friend stay, like that somebody was staying with a friend here because they were spooked about something. Because we know that Kaylee went back to take her exams. So why did she already leave the King Road house if she hadn't taken all her exams yet? Why would she move out prior to that? Was Kaylee, was she hesitant on coming back to Moscow? But was excited because of the vehicle? I mean, oh my gosh, Paul, I'm so sorry. Paul says, I was attempted by a man in my building 2 days ago, and I had to call 911. I've been bothered and afraid. The cops were useless, and I need the strength to write up a report. Paul, you have to write it up. You can't ignore it. Well, there's a couple more interesting blotter things that all come from this, White Ave. And that's why I ask, because there's a report. Here, I'm just going to show you guys because maybe you guys can make sense of it. Here's two more for White Ave, and this is on the 13th. So let me show you guys these. Hey, Anna. Paul, you have to do it. You can't. You have to write it up. It's the right thing to do and the safest thing for you to do. Okay, so check this out. The first one we have is White Ave, 2300 block of White Ave. This is on the 13th, the day of the murders. And we've got your back, Paul. The day of the murders. Reporting party requesting a welfare check on female she hasn't heard from in 2 days. See the time? 17:01. That's like 5. Wait, what time would that be? 5:01. Someone called to check on a female that they haven't talked to in 2 days. And it happens to be at the same place where these other things came from, this White Ave. So then the second one we have, here's another one, the same day as the murders. November 13th. $2,000 block of White Ave. This is at 17:30, which would be 5:30. Now listen to this one. Request assistance locating dog that was dropped off at shelter. Officer responded, computer report. So White Ave, we've got things being moved. House smells like cigarettes. We've got all kinds of reports at White Ave. All right, let's go back and watch the wallet section now. So I just thought that was weird. It's like, was someone from the Gonsalves family, because remember they weren't getting answers that day? And they were like, what the heck? We can't find out about Kaylee. And they were getting calls. Oh my gosh, Kaylee's dead. Kaylee's dead. Did they call to see if she was at someone else's apartment and did a welfare check because they weren't getting any answers from the police? I'm just wondering. Let's listen to Christy again. I feel like she really wants us to know that they've got the right guy and that he's got Kaylee's ID.
Access to my driver's license, but
I don't know if we got like her wallet. Like,
we got things from her room. Her room really wasn't part of
I'm
it.
talking about like her wallet with her ID in it and her debit card. And
her bank records. The amount of records on Kaylee was probably. Yeah, we have those items.
We have her ID.
And she had so many IDs. It's hard to. She had a lot of college.
He's all uncomfortable because, like, we can't really say that publicly, babe. Like, you're gonna get us in trouble here because we're not supposed to say it. So she's got a lot of IDs. She's got high school ones. She's got college ones. And Brian Enton's all uncomfortable. He's like, we all got lots of IDs. Brian Enton chimes in. Yeah, this is Christy saying that motherfucker has my daughter's ID. And I'm dying to not be able to tell what I know. Hello, Kelly Barrison.
Like,
we got things from her room. Her room really wasn't part of it.
I'm talking about like her wallet with her ID in it and her debit card. And
her bank records. The amount of records on Kaylee was probably. Yeah, we have those items.
Christy, she put her hands up. She's like, I'm not talking about the fucking bank records. I'm talking about her ID and her debit card, motherfucker.
Where that's gonna come.
If we got like her wallet. Like,
we got things from her room. Her room really wasn't part of it.
I'm talking about like her wallet with her ID in it and her debit card. And
her bank records. The amount of records on Kaylee was probably. Yeah, we have those items.
We have her ID.
And she had so many IDs. It's hard to. She had a lot of college IDs, a lot of high school IDs. So I don't know if I actually. We all had a lot of IDs.
He said, I don't know if I've actually seen it. And you hear Brian go, yeah, I've got a lot of IDs too.
Her ID.
And she had so many IDs. It's hard to. She had a lot of college IDs, a lot of high school IDs. So I don't know if I actually. We all had a lot of IDs.
Did this happen?
This would have happened between probably 1974 and 1977. It sometime during that. It was probably. It just kept happening on and off. Someone was calling me on the phone, and they were playing that song, Lay Down, Sally. A lot. And then some man kept calling and just harassing me, and I kept saying, you've got the wrong number. Quit calling here. And I said, there's no Sally here. And finally, I told him I was going to call the telephone company. At some point, and I don't remember when, I don't remember the time frames other than those dates that I gave you, but somewhere in between this window, some man knocked on my door. He said he was from the phone company and that they had noticed trouble on my line and that someone had tampered with my phone lines outside my house.
What is on it?
Her speaker. It's kind of unusual item not to give back. The laptops, multiple laptops, not just one. All electronics. It seems like they've kept of hers. So and her bake records. The amount of records on Kaylee was probably, I think, fairly to say was more than the other victims.
Christy wants to say so much. You can tell that she is really holding back.
I began to get suspicious around 1977 when the Wichita police started making information available, like Wichita had a serial killer, and this is what he was like, this is what he did. They said he said poems about his victims, and I thought, well, this man said poems to me. And then when BTK said, what shall I call myself? Shall I call myself the Hillside Strangler? Should I call myself the Poetic Strangler? Or should I call myself BTK? Well, I identified with that because he had said poems to me. This man had. He had said he had to take a bus all the way down WSU. And I began getting suspicious, but then I would say, no, that man's in California. Shortly after that, we moved to Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
But when I would come back for a visit, I would ask everyone, what do you think happened? And they said, well, we heard he's either in prison or he's dead, because it was just so silent. And then in Arizona, about maybe 30 years later, my daughter calls me. She's crying and she says, Mother, BTK's back. And I said, oh, no, honey. I said, that lawyer just made a book. And she says, no, he's back. So
And this is the daughter that he was outside her daughter's window. This guy has been he terrorized this woman and her family for years and years. Crazy. But I'm going to stop our presentation there. I'm going to actually put that video up in its entirety so you guys can watch it, in sequence. And I want you guys to comment. I think that there's so many similarities. It's hard to ignore. Like, I heard this interview with this woman and I was just shook. And I feel like there's more to the debit card and the fact that Kaylee's bank records were such a huge part of the warrant. So, you guys, to get cash back, you don't need a PIN. You can run it as a credit. And you can use it online as well. I just think it's interesting. Christy really accentuates the fact her ID, like, we have her ID. And then he's like, oh, wait, no. Like, she has so many IDs, So I appreciate you guys hearing me out and, taking all this in. I know it's a lot to think about. There's just a lot to this case, and I think that we're going to be floored that there is a lot that they have on Bryan Kohberger. I think it's also good news that we have cameras in the courtroom. They're court cameras, but we still get to watch the proceedings. Gretchen, remember the report about the dog that was killed? Do we know where that was? Yeah, that was in Moscow. Let's take a look. Shall we? Let's look that up. Let's see where Buddy the dog was. I know we looked this up on another live. And it happened on October 21st. Pam and Jim Culbert's dog Buddy was fatally skinned and sliced after being let out of their home in Moscow on October 21st. 10 acres of property they live on. Let's see if I can find out where. It doesn't say their road. I know we knew it at one point. Who is Pam Culbert? Woman's dog may have been killed with same knife used in University of Idaho murders. It just says they live on 10 acres. Pam and Jim Culbert's dog Buddy was killed, skinned, and sliced after being let out of their home in Moscow on October 21st. Pam, 78, said their beloved Pooch, 12, only had fur left on his legs and face. The dog had reportedly been rescued from a puppy mill. The couple's neighbor, Barbara Saylor, discovered the dead dog. The 4 students were killed just a mile away. It was a mile. And it says, we called the sheriff's department and the supervisor said that Buddy had been skinned. It was like a deer that someone had hunted, Pam added. They cut him around the neck and just skinned him. His little legs had fur and his little face had fur, but the rest of him was just skinned. The other side of him was as though they had filleted him like they were about to eat him. It was terrible. Unbelievable. They cut him like you fillet a fish. We found his collar, but we didn't find the pelt. She and her husband Jim have lived in their home for 39 years and have now taken to locking their doors for the first time. Pam explained, we let Buddy out and somebody must have been waiting out there. Buddy never leaves the yard. But this person grabbed Buddy. We always leave our doors open and he didn't come back in. Later that night, Jim went out and called him and we couldn't find him. Friends came up and started looking for him and eventually found him. So she lives 10 miles away from the King Road house. 1 mile away on 10 acres. And she worked at WSU Pullman from 1990 to 2008. Pam worked at WSU until 2008. We're not that many people out here, she said. Somebody had to be waiting. We don't have any enemies. It was really horrible. And now with the students unalived, it all came back up. Pam and Jim's neighbor, Clint Hughes, initially posted about the incident on Facebook. This sounds like clickbait, but it's not. Last night after 2 a.m., our neighbor's sweet little dog was skinned like a deer. No animal did this. Our dog is bigger and was so anxious about the same time that he tore his bed up into 1,000 pieces. Also, our cat has been missing for the last couple of days. Not sure if it's tied to Halloween, and I don't really care. I'll be chambering all my firearms, and I would suggest everyone in North Moscow do the same. Crazy. So, yeah. Filleted like a fish? Who filleted fish one summer and wasn't asked to come back because he's a creep burger? Him. The one who meshed his picture with his sisters and made it a profile picture online. I mean, these people have lived there for 30 some years, never locked their doors, and you think it's a coincidence that the dog was skinned and they have to start locking their doors and then there's a murder? No. It's not a coincidence. There's not coincidences like that in this universe. There's just not. Bryan Kohberger is not innocent. Bryan Kohberger is not being framed. Bryan Kohberger is a creep. And I honestly am so glad we'll be able to see the trial. I'm so glad. Thank you so much, Angie, for being here. Enjoy your dinner. But anyways, I'm going to conclude the live for today. We have a long premiere tomorrow that I'm bringing over from the 411. It's going to be more on Bryan Kohberger. A very interesting live. We're going to be talking about the Idaho or the Pennsylvania grand jury. We're going to be going over Dana Smithers and all of that stuff. He worked for a summer at a fish place, yes. And he wasn't asked to come back the next year. So I just feel like when there's all these weird things and like a month's time span, and nothing ever happened there before like that. There was a small brain found on a dumpster at Sigma Chi on November 13th. A small brain. An animal's small little brain. Could have been the cat. Who knows? A father of a frat boy found a small brain on a dumpster at Sigma Chi when he dropped his son off on November 13th at 11 a.m. Before the cops were even called for the murders, there was a small brain at Ethan's frat house. Too much of a coincidence for me. There was a rat found dead in a cage on White Ave. Let me see if I can find that one really quick. Hold up before you guys go. Let me see. White Ave, Moscow, Idaho. I want to be able to read this to you. Hold on. $1,900 block of White Ave. Damage to a vehicle on White Ave. Fraud on White Ave. Oh, shit. We have fraud at the 1700 block of White Ave. Fraud. Hashtag debit cards. Let's see if this is it. $11:14, the day after the murders, reporting party states someone knocked on their door and then walked away saying they have a big dog. Try a different house. Stray dog in custody. Here's one for November 12th, hours before the murders. Harassment. 5th Street, Moscow Food Co-op. Reporting party has a previous no contact order with a male that has now expired. The male is now at the reporting party's place of work, just staring at the reporting party. On 11/13, 10:54 a.m., there is a vehicle parked with door wide open in the parking lot of the UI College of Law. Um, 11:14, 1600 block of South Main Street at 2:27 p.m. Female screaming someone in her house and to help. Law and EMS responded. Officer arrested male for battery. Complaint of 2 people walking in the roadway wearing dark clothing on 11:14 by the Moscow Cemetery. Officer responded, unable to locate. 11:13, weapon offense. Someone blaring loud music and shot off a shotgun. Steiner Ave. Someone broke into the reporting party's house sometime between 9 and 1400 over the last 3 days. That was on October 11th. 11:13. Request welfare check for homeless female who made suicidal statement. Here's another one for the 13th. Theft on South Main Street. Identity theft. Identity theft. What the heck? It doesn't look like a bad part of town. It just sounds like there's a lot of creepy things happening there. That's all. All right. Well, I am out of here, guys. I'm going to get this uploaded for you. It'll be up momentarily. So you guys can watch it. Please comment in the comment section below. Let me know if you think I'm crazy, or let me know if you think I'm onto something. Do I have some of the puzzle pieces or do I not? Let me know. We're going to run our credits. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Be sure to check out my other videos and playlists for more true crime content. And if that's not enough, you can join our Patreon. Don't have a tinfoil hat? It's okay. We'll make you one. It's that easy. See you guys in the next video.
See you later. Bye.
I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn.
You're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
I don't want Jennifer or two Jennifers.
Thanks so much, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer. I don't want Jennifer or two Jennifers.
Thanks so much, Jennifer.
It's in the water. What the